Hey guys, welcome back. BDCKR here. We're back with Season 4, Episode 1 of a little bit of something old and a little bit of something new. This is still going to be a Q&A video, I think right now first and foremost, but we've decided to branch out a little bit, and we've realized that oftentimes we like using people's questions as an excuse to just talk for a while, and so, just
sometimes you won't even have that excuse.
Yeah, getting rid of the facade that we're answering very directly a question. We've decided to add it's a Q&A&T, where the T just stands for talking, where sometimes we're just gonna say stuff because we feel like saying it and not because somebody asked us specifically to talk about it.
Right.
So basically it's gonna be the same stuff, but
more,
hopefully, maybe a little bit longer sometimes, maybe not, and maybe sometimes there won't be a question that we initially start off when we're going on a rambling. So yeah. Mostly the same.
And that was intentionally Q&A&T, and not a different arrangement of the letters, because we did not want to mislead people into thinking they were getting something different.
Well, you wanted to make that joke.
I did.
But this is a family-friendly YouTube channel.
That's right.
The first question comes from Little Bear. And they say, I'm trying to make a Flashpoint team, but I don't have Flashpoint Batman. Which character can I possibly use as a substitute?
So we're seeing Flashpoint team right now. We're seeing that they're doing really well. And we show that every week, actually, since we started using this as our main sort of background team.
Yeah.
And the short answer is that there's no one. I mean, if you want a great team as the qualifier, right? So of all three team members, of all three Flashpoint team members, Batman has the absolute best team passive, which is the destructive blows.
Yeah.
Don't care about the stopping healing. The destructive blows, where you get the enhanced crit damage, that is literally irreplaceable. It is exactly why this team is able to punch so high up above its weight, because, as we've said before, it's the same with augmentations. Crit chance and crit damage boost are the most useful, and that is no different with passives. Once you replace Flashpoint Batman with anyone else, you're really going to be working hard to make a mediocre team something good, because that extra damage means that the matchmaker is not going to put you up against really stronger guys, and your damage output is huge.
Yeah, so there we go. The next question comes from Topper, Gaming and More. And they say, how did you get so many characters max augmented by only playing Survivor?
Really by judiciously exploiting the right glitches and farming exactly where it matters.
Yeah.
So this is one thing that I guess gets overlooked a bit, because, and this is going to be our advice about glitching, right? Where people just say, hey, this is how you do glitches, have at it. Here's the thing. We don't need to farm power credits when there's nothing left for us to buy. And multiplayer seasons that don't have character or gear exclusives that we need, we play them just for fun. So that means we're essentially farming Breakthrough, which I think we're done actually, to unlock the potential for pretty much every gold that has been available, right? There's still some that just haven't shown up in the event cycle. And that leaves Survivor. Because we're stockpiling crit augmentations and only applying them when we want to play and film someone in a multiplayer, it is quite possible that we have probably as many augmentations as we're ever going to need.
Yeah, obviously, eventually we'd run out, but with how judiciously we spend them. So you end up seeing, I think, probably, if not 100%, like 90% of the augments that we've applied in these videos.
Right.
So when you look at it and say, wow, that's a lot, there's kind of nothing behind the curtain, right? If you looked at our other characters, most of them would actually be pretty kind of...
But I think we've got enough augmentations now. If we really needed to, if somebody popped up that was interesting, we'd be ready to do it now.
Yeah, exactly. For any one character for the next while, we'd be able to just augment them,
so,
which we do for the new characters usually.
Yeah, so getting back to using glitches, right, is that, so when there's a power credit glitch that's available and you need it, then you exploit the heck out of it.
Yeah.
And when there's something that's available, this is what always surprises me, is when people who aren't new say, well, I need a glitch for power credits as soon as the next update comes and the power credits aren't available. Because when there's something good that we need, that's what my focus is on. So I spend most of my time doing exactly what I need to do.
Yeah, and so even though we don't have like hundreds of millions of credits here, just also too, We've got a decent amount of characters held back for potential future updates with extra elite levels, because it's happened twice before now, right?
Yes, that's right.
So we've got some of that, and so we have an untold riches in reserve in extra character cards that we've held back.
Right. So what you need to do is when a glitch is available, you need to look at what's in your account and figure out how important is a particular glitch to you, and figure out a way to make the most of it with the time that you've got. Right. So there's no point, ranking up on MP.
And for credits, it's also stockpiling value without getting banned.
Oh, that's true.
Which is what we've found as character cards.
Right.
There might be a trigger somewhere in there for a number that'll get you banned, but from what we've seen, it's no reasonable number, and no even kind of, with what we have for some characters, probably pretty unreasonable numbers too.
And it'd be almost impossible to do that. Not impossible, but it slowed the game down so much that every time that you'd check in with the server, that it would check
all your characters
100 and something different locations to say, are there more copies than some arbitrary number that they decide is too high?
Yeah.
I mean, they'd have to exclude the bronzes because of all the free bronze characters you get.
Oh, for sure. And just over time, you get more.
Sure.
There was that time that we spent buying bronze packs a while just because it was fun.
Right. And the
just
value
fun to open.
And the cards, there's at one point where it was actually worth it to us because it wasn't costing you much once you have everything that you need. You can sell back some of the more expensive support cards if you're lucky enough to get them.
Yeah, it was like 1,000, maybe 2,000, and it would let us max out our support. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, so that's really it. So yeah, it is exploiting Survivor, and there's the glitch so that you can play it as much as you want. There's really nothing more than that.
Yeah, so there we go. Our next question comes from Chris Cumpian, and this is going to be our segue into the T part, but for the first time, we're going to start with the question. They say, how come guys don't do Immortals or Mortal Kombat no more, or even Injustice 2? So we've had some version of this question intermittently over the life of the channel, basically as soon as we stopped doing anything. And I feel like we've answered it in most of its forms, right? We've answered it, I think, as well as we can.
Right,
because it is, at the end of the day, a personal question. We've answered it personally.
So the variations are really, there's really only time to play one properly, since we're doing this for fun as a hobby and not a job. Injustice Gods Among Us is the most fun and least frustrating. I mean, really, who needs diamond and platinum tiered cards?
Yeah.
And there's also, besides that question of, why don't you do this anymore, there's the closely related questions, suggestions of, if you would just do blank, whatever it is people are suggesting, your channel would be so much bigger, whether it's filming a different game or getting an iOS device.
Yeah, it's usually doing something pretty different from what we're doing right now.
Right. But you know what? I saw some Twitter posts from Mikey Newman that's kind of spot on that I wanted to share. Now, we're going to maybe pause the game at some point so I can show you a few things. If you don't know who Mikey is, he's the mind behind Movies with Mikey, a YouTube series on the channel Chainsaw Suit Original, which was rebranded as Film Joy. And side note, if you haven't been watching him and you like watching movies, you are totally missing out. Anytime he does a video about a movie that I like, guaranteed, he's going to have something interesting to say about it that makes me appreciate the movie even more. And in my mind, he's a critic that celebrates the things that movies do right.
Because he talks about movies that he likes, I think exclusively.
Right. And it's not like he ignores the flaws of a movie and thinks they're perfect, but he doesn't feel the need to focus only on the mistakes or the problems.
And because he only talks about movies that he loves, he always comes at it from a positive spin.
Right.
But anyways, that's just kind of a profile on him just because we really like him as a content creator.
So there's some tweets that he had recently, I think, and I'm just going to read them and put them on the screen before we cut back to the gameplay, right? So going full-time YouTube has been eye-opening in a lot of ways. You're chasing unhappiness in a strange way. You grow, but as you do, so do the number of people that are unhappy with you and they have no qualms sharing that fact.
Here, I'll take the second tweet and we can alternate.
All right.
You make decisions hoping to satisfy the largest number of people. Not all, most. But the comments that got to you before, calling you all kinds of insipid things, are now multiplied. The noise becomes louder.
The positive stuff is louder too, but the distinction becomes amplified. You will literally have people telling you that you have made the best thing you ever have and the worst thing you ever have. 2017, my dudes, polarization is in charge.
I guess I'm saying growth requires a certain homogenization of your content, And you can't say audience size doesn't matter, because it hella matters. The Patreon kerfuffle was the air horn for me. That could have ruined me. If that cratered, I am screwed.
YouTube is anxiety 100% of the time, because you just don't know what anyone will think. You are one bad video away from destitution, and trust me, we see it. Even if you think you're just using the comments to let off steam, we see it.
And everyone, people are doing it right now in this thread, will have all the answers. Everyone has it all figured out, save for one person, you. Every day, you say to yourself, this will be easy when I'm huge. But what if you never get huge?
I wanted to give you a glimpse of this world mentally. Being a YouTuber that doesn't have millions or even 100,000 subs is a tough one. Imagine if your job had pure written feedback for everything you ever did, all the time, about everything.
It's not as sexy as it appears from the outside. I love doing what I do, and I love my audience, but I think it's important to see the other side. Here's my feedback to you, taken from the good doctor. Always try to be nice, and never fail to be kind.
Okay, so we're going to go back to gameplay while we actually spend some time talking about it and unpacking it a little bit. So just, point of comparison, I mean, he says not even 100,000. We're not even 20. Like, we're 16,000 now. We're on such a scale way smaller than Mikey. We don't even make the kind of stuff that he does, where clearly there's a lot of, I don't want to say effort, because it's not just the effort, but he has lots of interesting things to say. He's a real creative, right?
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm a creative. I feel like I'm sort of, I don't know, messing around a little bit.
Yeah, it's true, because we really are doing this in so many ways just for fun, right? There really is nothing necessary about what we're doing here. If we stopped making videos tomorrow, we'd be sad about it, but, yeah, we'd move on.
And I get a lot of what he says, actually. I mean, in a sort of gut intuitive way, even though, I mean, I've said before, we do this as a hobby. I've got a full-time job. I'm not really ready to make it a hobby, but underlying all the practical reasons, I think I knew at a fundamental level that I did not want to be so beholden to a larger group of people that are basically like a magnified or in a large version of the people that we're getting, where we've got some people who are really nice and really kind,
and most people,
I'd
say like 90% of our people, which is I think somewhere around like our like to dislike ratio anyways.
I can't bring myself to think that I want to even try making a living. I mean, even if the disparity between what I could make potentially on YouTube versus what I'm doing in real life right now weren't so big, it's a little bit daunting. I really liked how he put it, because these are some of the thoughts that I probably wouldn't have really been able to come to, because I've sort of avoided the idea of even wanting to try to make this bigger. Yeah,
well, because to a certain degree too, it would have to be a different type of channel if we really wanted to grow. Yeah. Like the way that we're doing stuff right now with the Q&A even, right? Like bigger YouTubers, the fan interaction is lessened, and there's people who do a really good job of it. Jax Films does like a ton of like user centric content and people who engage with this stuff. But just like we're okay where we're at, and in a lot of ways where we're at lets us do some of the content that we like, specifically because of the size that we are. Because we're small, we don't need to worry as much about other people's opinions, and even the stuff that we like do branch out a little bit in. If we branch out too much, we're basically starting from scratch with a couple hundred views to 1,000 views guaranteed on whatever we start out doing fresh. So we have like that foothold in, but we don't actually have the confidence. We don't know what kind of content we want to make yet, and we don't have the kind of voice, right? We don't have the actual ability to...
We don't have the platform.
Well, we don't... I think we also don't have the ability to make a different type of content that's actually worth watching in a meaningful way.
That's true. I mean, really, we're talking one mobile game that's 4 years old. We have relatively limited expertise when it comes to mobile gaming in general, but some for this particular game.
Yeah.
So it's not... And I want to say again, too, I don't feel like I'm anywhere near as creative as Mikey. I don't have as important things to say as he does.
Yeah.
And I want to say it again. If you're not watching movies with Mikey and you like movies, you are totally missing out.
See, the more people we recommend, the more it makes me want to bring back some sort of structured recommendation portion of somewhere in our channel.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, because once we got away from the unboxings, right? I mean, Nerd Block failed completely, so we're clearly not getting any more of their sci-fi blocks. I totally agree with you, because one of the things that I really liked about our channel originally was having the platform to be able to...
share stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and now we're sharing a lot of one thing, instead of a lot of one thing and little bits of other stuff peppered here and there.
Yeah, so for you guys who are listening, I'm really hoping that maybe you'll stick around with us to follow us for a few things. I mean, in the short term, in the near term, we're going to be getting a Japanese ramen subscription box.
That's really interesting to me. I'm not sure why they decided to send stuff to us, but I appreciate it, and I love cup noodles, so that's going to be a pleasant eating experience for me either way.
Yeah, I love ramen. So where are we now in the fight? We're getting pretty close, but I'm a huge fan of Mikey, actually.
Yeah.
And what kills me is that he still has so many new things to say in a way that I never would have really considered before. Oh, so here's our last fight, so we're getting pretty close. Yeah, and that was it. So this is a slightly longer version of our videos, but I think I'm happy with taking a different direction now.
Yeah, there we go. New year, at least one piece of slightly different content. That's all we'll promise.
Yeah. All right, so let's see this fight. So I don't think there's any real danger. The strategy for this one particular is I'm going to bring in Deathstroke right away, because I want, when Cassandra came back, will be tagging in, that Deathstroke's special one animation will not have finished. And so we're not going to run into the same kind of trouble with her doing any kind of damage to her from her passive, where she removes 25% of the health. There we go. And that way we've got enough power, so in case it happens to not be Batgirl and Joker tagged in instead. Alright, so let's swap out. In this game, I guess, at the point where we're reaching the higher levels of the ultimate fights, it's almost impossible not to have somebody with Astro Harness as basically a counter to somebody with Astro Harness.
Yeah. When the new gear, when we're able to use that, that'll be its own counter.
Yeah, Tantu Totem, I can't wait for that.
Yeah, so there we go. Look, that was not bad.
All right. And there's Happy New Year to everybody. And I hope you've got lots of interesting things happening to you in the new year.
Hopefully good ones, too.
Yes, absolutely.
There we go. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Komoda.